It is Sunday evening, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 53. We got a 30-minute show live recording coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit before and after with you, the viewers, though. So let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, however you got here through YouTube, through Facebook, through all the different social media platforms out there. We appreciate you joining in and having a little bit of fun with us this evening as we talk about the Auburn Experience. You know me, your host, Kyle Loomis. There's a weird guy over here that somehow crashed the seat of one Austin Scott, but you're probably familiar with either his voice or you've seen him here as a guest before. Mr. AJ Richardson of the No Huddle podcast has decided he is willing to step in for a sick Austin Scott tonight. AJ, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Always good to be here. Yep, you may know my voice, but this may be a new face to you. So
the calm,
nice to meet you.
The calm, sultry voice of one AJ Richardson.
I don't know about that. I haven't been told that before.
So we're obviously going to do the normal routine here. In about 5 minutes, we're going to start our live recording where we won't be taking a lot of comments and questions during it, but I will be, after a 30-minute recording, talking to you all after, kind of like a little mini Wednesday night show. So stick around for that, and we'll address maybe some of your comments during the show. And we got some fun topics for you tonight. So Austin is under the weather this evening. We'll address it when we record as well, because people are like, that's not Austin when they hear his voice. We will obviously miss him tonight, but he is just having a bad run of, like, every other week he has a stomach bug or something happened with, the boys, his twins, but it's been a bad run for him. So hopefully this is like the last of it, and he'll be back in the saddle with us on a more regular roundabout. He and I were actually talking last night, AJ, about all the different things that we wanted to discuss. And I'm going to be honest with you, we had a really fun segment during the bye week that we were going to do, and I'm going to save it for him. It was going to be
save it.
The Mount Rushmore of Auburn football coaches. So,
just the coaches.
I don't know if you heard this, but we were going to do a series whenever there was not a big topic out there that needed to be addressed in one of our segments. We were going to do the Mount Rushmore of different things at Auburn. So we were going to do like Mount coaches, Mount Rushmore of food places, Mount Rushmore of traditions, Mount Rushmore of buildings, And our idea was that we would eventually get to the ultimate Mount Rushmore of Auburn. And not just sports, but everything. Like, this is Auburn. What would you put on the face of George Washington of Abe Lincoln for Auburn? So,
I mean, it's got to be obvious. So I'm just going to throw that one out there.
I mean, listen, everyone's going to have opinions about it. So we were going to start it this week. He was super excited about it. He is just under the weather this evening. We got fine folks checking in with us from Facebook, from YouTube, from across the land in Hoover and Minnesota, all around the place. Thank you so much for joining in tonight. Make sure y'all are smashing the like button, sharing it out on the social medias. Obviously, we want to continue to grow our little family within the Auburn family, and we need your help to do that. I'm trying to think about what else, because I don't want to save most of it for the show tonight. Jared is out this week as well on the No Huddle show, so you will hear this voice over there on AJ's show. So he was kind enough to let me sit in. So I hope you don't regret it, AJ.
I think this is what you call a collab. Is that the cool thing to do now?
But is it a collab when you're all part of the same network? Like, I don't know.
We have our own podcast, so I guess.
But I mean,
you're right. We're on the same network. So.
We're on the same network. I guess you can call it a collab if you want to.
People do the same thing on YouTube. It's like one channel does it with another channel.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not going to make up the rules here. Like, I'm just curious what we should call it. It's, I don't know, collab. It's I almost said integration, but that doesn't sound. Help me. I'm drowning here on what to call it about. But obviously, we are all itching to get back to football talk, which we'll discuss a little bit in the show. And I know, AJ, you enjoyed some good football this weekend, though. Did you have a favorite game other than Auburn that you watched? Obviously, no Auburn game, but
Auburn game. We mentioned a little bit on the No Huddle podcast, so you'll hear it a little bit later. But my favorite just I live in Atlanta, was the Georgia Tech beating
What
Miami.
a mess. I mean, what a just what a that's it. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say. What a
Yeah. And if you know anything about it, it was brilliant by and by brilliant I mean the absolute dumbest thing by Mario Cristobal, Miami's head coach, to run the ball when they literally could have kneeled it. But apparently that's what he's done in the past when he was at Oregon. So I guess it's par for the course for him. And he literally could have gone perfect. Won every game so far, undefeated, and yet here we are. Georgia Tech has a huge upset, and all my
the arrogance.
friends, they're
The
loving it.
arrogance. The arrogance to think that that's straight up somebody who came from Alabama. From the Nick Saban coaching tree that thinks that you can do whatever it is you want whenever it is, and nothing's going to go wrong. But as we know, even little Nicky found out what happens when you discredit 1 second. There's
That's
going to
right.
be a lot of things. Here's a good question from Brian. We'll take this one and we'll kind of get things rolling tonight. Are AJ and Clint related? AJ?
The answer is no.
No.
But we did meet at Auburn and found out very quickly. He was already starting to do some stuff with us when I was in college. And obviously he's taken off and done his own stuff as well with the Auburn Uniform database, but no relation as far as I'm aware. Maybe like a seventh cousin or something, but you never know.
Somewhere down the line, somebody converges with all the Richardsons. But
You're probably right.
We all converge at Adam and Eve. So at some point, we're all brothers and sisters.
Right.
Which is really weird when you think about it that way, just.
Yeah.
Corey, did you not know what happened to Miami? Are you asking? Are you making fun? I think he's making fun. Yeah. Miami. Like they're becoming to me the new Texas. We're back. Texas used to say they're always back, and then they would fall flat on their faces. Miami does look like they're getting back, kind of like Texas was. I know Texas just lost, but that was a really great game. But when you fall flat on your face to Georgia Tech,
yep.
Like Georgia Tech's relevancy days are done. Like I'm
sorry. And they're in a rebuild right now. Like they very clearly are stating like, hey, we're just in it to maybe start rebuilding. And this is part of that. And yet they still are able to have a big upset. So
yeah,
pretty impressive for them.
Well, let's get this show started, will we? Why don't we do that?
Let's do it.
We've got a 30-minute record coming up for you. Again, as a reminder, those of you that are veterans here, help us in the chat if anybody gets confused while we're not really addressing a lot of comments and questions. We'll be back, or we'll stay by to AJ as soon as we're done recording our 3 10-ish minute segments, potpourri, a little bit of Auburn bye week discussion, and then a little Auburn basketball preseason discussion as well. I'll stay and talk with you guys a little bit afterwards, and then we'll get out of here. But it's going to be a fun night. Thank you so much to everyone who's checking in live and on the replay. If you are good to go, AJ, I will count us down. In 3, 2, 1. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. It encompasses a wide variety of things. Obviously, a lot of sports. Obviously, there's academics built in with the university. Their experiences in a little town on the plains, but all across the country and across the world. But no matter how you slice it up, you can sum it up in this: our sports, our culture, and of course, our family. And because it's all about the Auburn family, we've got to have some family members in here to do the show. I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. In chair number 2 tonight, we are missing somebody. Mr. Austin Scott out a little bit under the weather today. Really fought hard to be here, but I think we had to kind of make him realize how sick he was. So we are glad to welcome back one of our guests previously when we've had to have somebody fill in, Mr. AJ Richardson of the No Huddle podcast here on E2C Network. AJ, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I've said it every time, but I love this concept because obviously football is our headliner of what Auburn fans typically pay attention to, and more recently basketball as well. But as we know, it's way more and way bigger than that. And that's what we love to talk about here, is not just the big sports, it's everything else. And hey, who knows? This is kind of a bye week still. It's, we're coming out of a bye week, and who knows what, fun we'll get into on this podcast / YouTube live stream.
That's an interesting way to think about it, because we call the bye week the one where you don't play, and we always call it as you lead up to the next game, like this would be LSU week.
It's like LSU hate week or whatever.
Right, but we're still kind of in that weird mode of it's still that lull of we didn't have any Auburn football. Nobody's blood pressure hopefully went up this week related to Auburn things.
Nope.
So it
went down.
It went down. I actually got invested in some football games, which I was shocked with, but I also got disappointed by a lot of them. Looking at you, Kentucky. We talked about that a little bit on the No Huddle show. By the way, I was a guest on the No Huddle podcast this week. So we're just kind of switching it all the way around. We didn't plan it that way. It just happened. Both of us needed co-hosts that were out this week.
Yep.
And here we are. So basically you could just say we're each other's leftovers. Is that fair to say, AJ?
Yeah, pretty accurate. You weren't my first choice.
Wow. And that's the end of the show. Goodbye to that host, co-host. So with that in mind, I was told that you actually did some homework and have a 53 for us.
I do, because it's episode 53. So as with tradition, as Austin Scott typically does, I'll kind of take his role here. I was looking up top players that you may or may not know that were 53. So I'm sure I'm missing some basketball players that might be thrown in there, but I'll mention at least one that you probably do know. Gunnar Britton, offensive lineman for Auburn right now.
That's like the gimme. Come on, give me something bigger than that. Come on.
Okay. So another one, and this was another football, because 53 is kind of a weird number anyway, like to find.
I'm sure Gunnar doesn't feel that way.
I mean, yeah, but he's an offensive lineman, so he gets picked like these weird high numbers.
Right.
The long snapper from 2016 to 2022, and he kind of played a little bit off and on. Clark Smith. Probably don't know his name, but he was an academic SEC honor rollie. So honorable mention there.
That is probably the most obscure one. Sorry, Clark, if you see this. That's making me think of Christmas Vacation. You serious, Clark? Like all of those type of references. But you did your homework. You went and got us a relevant one, like a timely one.
Yep.
But also one that's kind of out there. So well done.
I did have a couple. Well, at least one fun fact.
Drop them in. Let's go.
So Gunnar Britton, obviously a transfer from Western Kentucky. He's already got his degree, so he's kind of just in grad school right now. He is a leap year baby. Did you know that?
How do you? Did you just look at his date?
It was on the February 29th.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that is right. I was trying to think like, well, it only comes around every 4 years. So I think that's creepy for Gunnar. I know his father, John, sometimes watches the show. So John, apparently we're doing research on your son. So, but you did your homework this week. I'm impressed. Like Austin, you got to hurry back here. Someone's running for your job at this point. That's what I'm hearing right now. Well, let's get into a little potpourri here with our time left in segment number 1. Obviously, there is a lot going on right now in terms of fall sports are full swing, university's full swing. We just address this. This is off the top of my head. How about this fall weather, y'all? How about when we return to campus, which will be still 2 weeks away? If those of you that are coming to the Ole Miss game, well, I haven't looked. Maybe it is going to warm back up. But what I'm hoping for is a cool 55-degree morning with a high of about 75 during the day. And I'm hoping for a nighttime game, which is probably not going to be. It's going to be our luck against Ole Miss. How about this fall weather? There's nothing better than a beautiful Auburn campus in the fall. Would you agree, sir?
It is very beautiful. And not to mention, like, I still feel like there's very few places that have and just this amazing of a, I don't know, season, because it's just so hot. And then it finally starts going down. And guess what? We're right there now. And then on top of that, we have incredible sunsets in Auburn. So,
oh, man, the sunsets.
You add all that. I mean, orange leaves, orange sunsets. Come on.
I have hot flashes here. My goodness. Wow. Now, look, there's one shot on campus that I've taken before that I'm going to try to recreate. The problem is you got to wait till the students are done for the day on Friday. So I'll probably try this on Ole Miss, and you got to have good lighting. But it's right there on the main concourse, Haley, and then the Milton Sooner Center now. where all the trees line along that. And if the leaves are like falling and they've changed colors and you get the right angle there, that is just one of the best shots of campus. So I'm going to try to recreate that just for you, AJ, just so you can have that view. Just so when you see that picture pop up, it does know I'm thinking of you.
Appreciate
if that makes you feel special. I know there's one thing out there, kind of just quick hitting news stuff that maybe you wanted to discuss about baseball.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, all the different news around baseball and the stadium itself. So obviously baseball has become a much bigger thing, and we've been consistently a lot better under Butch Thompson, but he's bringing in some stuff that, he was at Mississippi State. What did he like? If you've ever been to Mississippi State's baseball stadium, which I've been to a couple of times now, it is like a minor league baseball field that has so many different avenues of like family areas to, the higher end, top seating to like the regular student section. It's got everything. And so you can tell Butch Thompson is taking what he used at Mississippi State over to Auburn. Auburn, if you want to go look at some of the, I think Auburn baseball, Twitter and Facebook, they've posted some videos. It is really cool. Now, of course, right now it's kind of bare bones. It's in the construction zone, but if you can just like put on a little bit of imagination, it's amazing. You can tell that extra little bit that they're working on right now, that'll be ready for the baseball season coming up. That's going to be really cool for, the people that get to experience it. It's kind of like in my mind, if you've ever gone to like what do they call it in the Braves game? It's like the Delta Zone, where they have like, food under the stadium that you can go to, and essentially like, I don't think it's free usually. I don't know about Auburn, how they're going to do it, but it's really, and you literally are going to walk out and see like the baseball field. Like that's going to be really cool for a lot of these fans. Now that we're getting better at baseball over the last 4 or 5 years, it's going to be something that I feel like Auburn fans are going to start even migrating even over more to baseball because of these cool experiences. Not to mention, by 2024, 2025, one of those is they're going to have, the big green giant, all the stands up there. They've already started on some of it in like the right field and got that built. But, it's things like that are just going to make that fan experience just that much better.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting over the next few years to watch that kind of build itself and each phase. I know we like it all done in one big swoop, but these things take time, and you sometimes, for funding reasons, I'm sure, have to kind of do these things as you kind of get the funds to do so and the support to do so. And I like that they are bringing those elements of the Mississippi State Stadium, but keeping some of the fan favorites, like, for now, not blocking the parking deck and the, like people like AUPPL on Twitter appreciate that very much. AU parking lot is where he got the name from. So that's obviously keeping the old while making it new is a big thing. Kind of as a final mention here, just since we're talking about other programs, I want to give a shout out to the Auburn volleyball program. And I think I have this correct. This is their first win ever in Gainesville against the Gators recently. They also have another win over South Carolina, I believe, like as of today. They've had after a very exciting season last year, it's been kind of up and down, riddled with injuries all throughout the season. And now they are still getting these big moments in program history. And look, you would say with a program that's maybe not had the most, how would I say this? The thorough great history in the sport, at least thus far, that maybe doesn't surprise you, but the fact that we're still accomplishing these things while facing maybe some adversity this year is a great thing. So I just want to give a shout out to Coach Crouch, shout out to the girls, and continue to give us the reason to believe and support this program while making their way through maybe a tough stretch and with a young and a talented group. So congratulations to them. And obviously a lot of the other programs that are happening right now for fall sports, but winter sports as well, as we'll talk about coming up in just a second. Speaking of which, big 2 segments coming up here. We are going to talk about some sports still. We're going to mention a little bit of bye week discussion. What do you talk about during the bye week? And of course, a little bit of Auburn basketball preseason, because it'll be here before you know it.
Oh, yeah.
Big topic number 1 tonight. It's the bye week. Boy, do we wish it would go goodbye at this point, because as much as we love having our heart rate be down, our anxiety be a little bit lower because Auburn football didn't put us on the roller coaster ride that it normally does. Once that Saturday passes by, that itch, the desire to watch football, Auburn football specifically, is back and to talk about it. So I expected to get geared back up this weekend. Let's kind of just hash it out. No set agenda, AJ. Let's talk about bye week stuff, like what's been on your mind, whether it's about football or just how much you missed it, or any big discussions that came up during the week in your mind. You guys obviously have talked a lot about it on No Huddle, but I'm going to give you the keyword: bye week, Auburn football. Go. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Number one, injuries. Healing up injuries.
Way to bring it down already, AJ. Thanks.
Well, I'm taking out, of course, the players getting injured, but flip that around, you get an extra week bye week, so those guys can heal up. Number two, if you haven't watched, our passing game isn't that great. Still haven't had a 100-yard game under Hugh Freeze. Well, at least a conference game.
A conference game. I was about to say we've
had
one.
Game. Yeah,
I know we threw for, because isn't it weird? Last two games not getting past 100. The game before that, first quarterback to hit 300 yards passing like in a long time. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to me. And so I'm trying to like figure out where things going. So anyway, if you want to go more in depth of, what we think about, is it all on Peyton Thorne? Is it other things like wide receivers or offensive linemen not doing their job? Yep. I'll give you a hint. It's all of the above. So there's lots of things like that. I really am excited about the passing game, because I think this, essentially Peyton Thorne, think about it, came in, what was it, like a couple months before the season starts, and has to develop chemistry with these wide receivers. And these wide receivers, a lot of them transfers, new. That's part of the problem right now. And there's reports that a lot of these guys, wide receivers, are not running the right routes, not doing the right stuff.
Well, it's not reports. We've seen it happen a few times. And I'm not trying to place blame like on any specific person, but like I think a lot of times when we have these discussions, we always point to the quarterback and stuff like that. I'm like, the coach has been telling you that we've had some misalignments and miscues and running the wrong routes, and then you'll watch it happen, and I'm like, guys, that wasn't the quarterback's fault. So just a point of note there. Sorry.
Yep. So lots of good stuff that I think this bye week, not only are we going down to Louisiana and you get an extra week to prepare for that. I mean, you got to think that's great. Think about anytime you've got a bye week, that's just that much more film. That's just that much more time to see what they're doing and figure out how to stop it. So, specifically for LSU, they're on fire right now. They have, I think it was like 500 plus yards. 551 total yards on offense on average. And they've had games like against Ole Miss, 700 yards. And you're just like, that is just nuts how much you can be able to just run your offense. So I think that's just part of it. And I think this gives us a little bit of help. Not saying that we will win this game, but upcoming, it seems a little bit more doable than I think even some Auburn fans thought, even a week or two ago.
I think bye weeks are always a good reset point. What was interesting to me about this bye week is that it came a little bit earlier than what normally used to. And I think I don't know who to credit this to from our Wednesday night live streams, but someone pointed out that it seems to always happen on the 7th or the 8th week. This would be because we played, hold on, our record, let me get it right. We are 3-2. Yes. So this would have been week 6 was the bye week. So we were like a week and change earlier. So maybe you're like, maybe we could have waited one extra week, but think about the gauntlet we have been going through.
Yeah.
Obviously we went to Texas A&M, and that you can argue whether or not that was a gauntlet or not. It looked like it for us. Georgia, and then you got LSU and Ole Miss. So when you look at the context of this year's schedule, it's perfectly timed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, in a normal year, you hope maybe it's in week 7 or week 8, something like that, to continue So injuries that may continue to happen, that time to heal up. Obviously, they're getting time to heal up now. There's been some injuries that obviously won't heal up in 1 week that we've already lost for the season. But I think it's a good point for the coaches to reassess what is and isn't working.
Yep.
We all know what's not working, the passing game.
Yep.
They know. I think, folks, I think some of y'all missed this. They know that too. No matter how much you scream on social media, no matter how much you at a coach, and I love that Coach Ron Roberts, he didn't like go after somebody the last game for, you know, making a ridiculous statement, but he kind of just said, "What game were you watching? We were doing exactly what you were suggesting too." It's just so funny to me that like they see it better than you do too. So a lot of time this week for adjustments to me. So I think that's probably the key words there in a bye week. Adjustments, injuries, yes, but obviously adjustments need to be made. What's the one adjustment, AJ? The one thing that Auburn can do better. And I'm not just saying pass the ball better. I'm taking the easy one. But if it's something specific about the passing game, in your mind, if you're the head coach putting on the headphones, what would you do to fix it?
I mean, if I was a head coach, I'd be getting paid millions of dollars. So obviously not me.
So you would take the check to the bank and then just let it happen, you know?
Yeah. But if I was put in that position, you can tell that, especially for Peyton Thorne right now, he's a little shaky away from Jordan Hare. Now, that's only been 2 games, that little small sample size. But if I was them, I would make sure first 2 drives, don't even give him any passes more than like 10 yards. Say, we're going to just see what we can do, make it happen. If something happens and there's a broken coverage, great. But if not, we're just going to give them the easy passes and say, this is what you do. And if you do that, Louisiana late at night, and you start moving the ball and quieting that crowd, helps you a lot. But I think that starts with just the practice and the extra reps that you're going to get right now, is to figure out what are the comfortable things right now that he can hit in that 80% kind of range, not lower where we've seen him closer to like the 50 or 55% completions of passes. We need to get him up. And I think that'll kind of balance out the offense too, because obviously our run game is great. And you have to balance that out. So,
yeah, I would say for me, if I'm looking for the one adjustment is, and maybe it's not an adjustment is the right word for me, but some of it is also because of injuries that have happened. I'd like some continuity at offensive linemen. And I think there's been some there. I think they said after game 3, they pretty much had narrowed it down to the 7 guys that were going to be rotating in and out. But to me, that's where I would be making any adjustments / solidification / addressing, is figuring out who gives us the best chance to be successful in all facets of the game. And maybe they're not as good, this group, these 5 guys, but 7 rotation at, the middle run game, but they give us the best opportunity here. And let's move forward with that way, because that's going to help every single aspect of this offense. It's going to help, continuity for the quarterback, for the wide receivers, for the tight ends, for the running backs. I know I'm a broken record. Some of y'all have been following this wrong. He's talking about the offensive line again. I am, because that's where the game is won. It's as simple as that. I don't know how many times that comes up and people are like, "Oh yeah, the game was won at the offensive and across the offensive and the defensive line." It really is. It's that simple. Football is a complex game, but it is very simple at its core. So yeah, there are 1,000 adjustments. If you, the listeners, the viewers, have suggestions on that, obviously you can share them, and we'd be interested in knowing any of those that you might have. But the coaches are the ones that have all the information. They're operating off of that. Maybe kind of as a final part of our bye week discussion, we always look for things to talk about other than the game, because it's not there to talk about. One of the things that popped up early in the bye week, but I think got shut down somewhat, correct me if I'm wrong, was this notion that Hugh Freeze may have had either a slip of the tongue, misspeak / just didn't realize he was saying that the Georgia-Auburn rivalry may be over every single year. because he said something to the effect of, I'll miss playing that every single year, and that intensity and that. And what do you think? I mean, I think it was refuted in a publication or some way, like something like that, but just the general concept of that popping up right after the Georgia game too. What do you think? Anything there about, you concerned about it?
I mean, there's I feel like there can be slips of tongue. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if I feel like he's still kind of new to the rivalry thing at Auburn. Like obviously he knew Auburn and Georgia, Auburn, Bama, but does he know the true history of everything? Does he know the future? Maybe he's getting some sources that tell him that, but I think he's still learning, because even still he was like, right before the Georgia game, hey, I don't think there's much of hate between Auburn and Georgia. I'm like, have you met any Auburn and Georgia fans? Like, so like, again, he's learning, and I'll give him a little bit of grace there.
I think he's privy to information that we're not privy to. I don't think it was necessarily a slip of the tongue, but just kind of talking in general. And maybe he was speaking truthfully. We won't know until we get past this next year with this placeholder schedule, which Commissioner Sankey has said that this is to get us to the next phase. So don't get comfortable with everything that you're seeing, folks. But I think it is a big concern that the Auburn-Georgia rivalry would not be protected. I think going to 9 games helps that. Some people want it, some people don't. I would love it, frankly. Just get rid of one of the rinky-dink games after that. I really think it should come down to, you have one big opponent, to your little starter game, and then your homecoming game, and then everybody else's SEC gauntlet. You really free yourself up though if everybody only has one traditional rival though. I don't know that I'm willing to give up the Georgia game though.
The only reason I feel like I'd be somewhat okay is just because how much Georgia has just seemed to own us, and that part I'm okay with. But as we know,
up,
just
AJ,
like
don't give up.
No, I'm not giving up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, as we know, swings happen. Alabama will no longer, like in the future, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they won't be as great as they are right now. And same thing with Georgia. Saban's going to die at some point. So
wow, whoa, oh. Well, that went a place I didn't think it was going to go. But
I feel like I know Harvey Updike already died, but he might just like dig out of his grave and come do something in my yard after saying that. I don't know about that.
You see me just going off screen here. Those of you on the podcast, you can hear my voice fading to raise because I'm just trying to get off screen right now because I'm so uncomfortable.
You don't want to be associated with Harvey Updike?
No, whatever. Yeah. Look, we are just. I think I took this story and as an opportunity for people to drum up interest in a week where there was not much interest. We'll find out soon enough whether or not this is going to be a reality or not. But it was something I just wanted to kind of get your take on about the Georgia rivalry. Hopefully we'll keep it though, but that's the bye week for you. Always plenty of things to talk about.
Always.
Let's talk about big topic number 2 tonight. We're going to switch gears, still in the sports realm, but we're going to winter sports. Let's talk about Auburn basketball. Bruce Pearl and the boys. Obviously, if we have any thoughts on the women's basketball program too, which I'm actually very excited about year 3 for them. They've taken some great strides over the last 2 years, and I'm intrigued to see if that trend is going to continue. So you could just call this an Auburn basketball in general preseason discussion. Not really a specifics we're going to hit. If there's interest on the schedule that you find, AJ, on the roster, or just want to gush about how much you love Bruce Pearl and are happy to see him back in the front of everything again, let's just discuss some preseason Auburn basketball, because it'll be a while before we get to dive into that here in October. Is kind of that last period before it gears up. So
yeah,
preseason Auburn basketball, what you got?
Well, I was looking and I was thinking, isn't SEC Media Days about to kick off? And sure enough, they are. You got October 18th and 19th. Auburn's already selected Jalen Williams and Janai Broom. which I think are absolutely amazing representatives of what Auburn is. And I've loved Jalen Williams from the day one when he got to play at Auburn. And my mom's favorite player on this basketball team is Jalen Williams.
No, he's my favorite. I will fight
Okay.
anybody. I have fought so many people. There can
You
only
want to
be
fight my
one.
mom?
There can
Wow,
only
you're
be one
mm,
Jalen Williams fanboy or girl, and that is me. So stay away from my J Will.
I don't know about that. I might have to come after him.
he's very easy to love, just not because of what he does on the court, but he just, he exudes Auburn to me. And so I love Jay Will. So I'm happy
Yep.
you brought him up.
Yeah, absolutely. I did look, and I was kind of curious because I remembered Alan Flanagan left Auburn, and I was like, I knew he's pursuing somewhere, and then I was like, oh, he's at Ole Miss. Well, guess what? He's
I
going to
forgot
be
about
Ole
that.
Miss. He's going to be Ole Miss's representative, one of them for SEC Media Day. So, hey, Janai and Jalen and Bruce and whoever else will get to see. Well, I guess they might get to. I guess it depends on if they're on the same day.
I don't know if is it multiple days for basketball? I feel like it was all one day last year. I could be wrong.
Last time I saw it was 2, but it may honestly be 1. I don't know.
Either way, I mean, they only have 2 players. I think that obviously you said 2 players for us to talk about, and a coach. It's probably spread out amongst 2 days. Now, when Oklahoma and Texas get here, as with many sports, everything's going to change when they get here, but you'll have to spread it out regardless. Just think about SEC Media Days football next year. Like it's going to be probably instead of 4 days, 5 days now, all week. SEC Media Days. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Basketball. That dynamic is going to be interesting. I'll be intrigued to see what is and isn't said. And when I say what isn't said, what's said between the lines for Alan Flanagan back to Auburn back to, because those questions are coming.
For sure. I mean, if you have a representative like Alan Flanagan for so many years, his dad, obviously, legacy, Auburn basketball. I mean, everybody, if you're any kind of reporter, you're going to ask the questions between, hey, what do you think about Auburn? Why'd you decide to leave? Those kinds of questions. It's bound to happen. And I think Allen has had a pretty good bout. What did he have? Was it ACL? Is that right?
I forget exactly what I think it was. His knee, ankle. Either way, it took him a long time to come back from it. And when I say that, like, he was back on the court, but we all saw Allen wasn't the same.
Yeah, he wasn't driving the ball like he was previously. And that's the kind of stuff I think last year you saw him finally getting back to, I feel like, really close to what we saw pre-injury. Yeah. And we'll see what he can do at Ole Miss.
It's so weird that he's going to be at Ole Miss. Auburn and Ole Miss basketball has been a little bit at odds over the last year because of, we think back to Marshall Henderson.
Oh gosh, please.
Some flapping his
dude. And I love him. I don't like, I mean, I was in the student section when he went over and just like started yelling at us. Like,
when you said that you loved him, I was about to.
No, it was sarcasm.
That was the second time on this episode you almost got kicked off, sir. Like, I mean, you are swinging for the fences here.
I got 2 strikes, so here we go.
That dynamic now is going to get really interesting as well. I'm just excited for this season, especially the non-conference season. There is just a slew of games. Look, I think everybody who is a major basketball fan knows that the Maui Invitational is one of the premier preseason things. That's not this year, even though I kept saying last week it was. But in a year where you could say, you know what, next year's non-conference is better because of Maui. I mean, just listen to this. You've got Baylor, you've got Notre Dame, either Oklahoma State or St. Bonaventure, 2 great programs historically, Virginia Tech, App State, who hasn't been terrible at basketball, if my recollection is correct, Indiana, and USC, and a lot of those, I don't call them lower, but smaller programs. Bruce historically gets a lot of the best ones from there to really push his players. So I'm excited for this non-conference season in a big way. And I've already looked at the tickets are going fast. If you haven't gotten them, I'm sorry. I was already out of luck. I'm excited to watch that. Anything stick out from you from the schedule in general or things you're excited about that?
I mean, well, even right after that is the Legends Classic where Auburn's going to play Notre Dame. and
Notre Dame.
that's going to be pretty neat. I still would love, we still have our list in football of teams we still haven't faced, and again, Notre Dame's on up there for me. But lots of kind of just to get ready. But hey, we've had some that have really challenged us. I can't remember. Was it Penn that was a while ago that kind of challenged us?
Penn is traditionally one of those mid-major programs
Yeah.
that it has great stretches, and
Yeah.
that's one that you would want to watch out for.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that you want to prepare your team for because it's non-conference. I mean, yeah, it goes towards your record, but build your team up before you get into the SEC play. And that's right before it. I mean, not to mention USC. So you've got some fun ones. Very exciting, like lots of fun stuff. I mean, are you going to be going to? Have you made your decision on the holiday hoops giving stuff in Atlanta?
If you didn't bring it up, I was going to. I mean, I haven't bought my tickets yet, but I usually go. So I better just go ahead and buy the tickets before they get outrageous. Indiana too. Wow, that's a good.
That's going to be a great game.
Bruce said early on, guys, we got something coming up for holiday hoops giving, meaning next season, meaning this season, that I think y'all are going to want to pay attention to. And he was not kidding. Like, we're playing Indiana in Atlanta in the holiday hoops giving. And
that's like that's like a home game for Auburn.
It is. And it's a great venue. Auburn has showed out really well, even though last year's against Memphis was kind of a disappointing one.
Yeah.
It's still a great matchup too. So I'm going to plan on going. I hope AJ, you will too. Maybe we can get a little bit of E2C meetup going there or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe as like final notes on this discussion, we've talked a little bit of schedule, maybe SEC media days, things like that. What about the roster? We know the big names, Jalen, Janai, KD, even like Trey Donaldson, Chris Moore. But let me give you some of the new names as well, and maybe talk to me about who maybe excites you or maybe who you're just interested to see more of. Aiden Holloway. You've got Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones, and where's he at on here? Darren Scott and Chaney Johnson. Those would be the main ones there. And I've left off some other names as well, but just for sake of time. What sticks out to you about the roster?
Yeah. Well, what's cool, isn't Jalen Harper Jared Harper's younger brother, right? Yeah. I mean, just by that, it's pretty neat, right? He's a grad student. I don't know if he will necessarily get much play time, but it's just neat that he decided to come to Auburn.
Would you say that we got Jalen?
You could do it. Why not?
We got Jalen.
Obviously the other big one, and he's already been making some off-season waves, is Aiden Holloway. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was him. He was making like a dozen like 3-pointers from the logo. And I was just like, when was the last time we've had a guy that can consistently shoot long threes, or any threes for that matter? And if Aiden Holloway can be that guy for us, obviously he's just in a gym doing his thing. But like, if he's guarded and he can consistently make threes, man, that's exciting. And what's neat was, Bruce said in the first scrimmage, which was I think it was about a week ago, that we were shooting about 50% from three. So good sign. If you're shooting 50% from three, you're going to win a lot of games.
I like it a lot. I like it. What I'm hearing is definitely something that a lot of Auburn fans have wanted to hear, better shooting. We'll see if it translates on the field. Obviously, there's a lot to be excited about, whether it's the schedule, whether it's you like media days, whether it's you're just excited about some of these new names. We will see. Obviously, a new season means new opportunities, and it will be geared up here before you know it. And we just want to spend a little bit of time getting excited for it during a little bit of a bye week for football. That's going to do it for this episode of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 53. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to find me on social media, you can find my personal X. It's weird. At Kyle Loomis 24. Follow E2C Network anywhere. YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitter. That's the same thing. TikTok, all of the things. Where can they find you, AJ?
You can find me on X. Still feels weird. At AJAYJAY_.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, that's the episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you have I'm going to stick around and hang out with you guys. So if you got questions, comments, we'll hit some of those. You got any parting thoughts, AJ?
Ready to eat some corn dogs. It's part of my tradition when we play LSU. So I'm going to eat one, if not a couple. And then if we win, I eat more because
AJ, I'm going to
it's just
challenge
like,
you. I'm going to challenge you. I need a picture of you eating a hot dog, not in our group me, but
okay.
in the Conquer Club where you are in. I need
Oh, yeah.
I need in the Conquer Club a picture to all of our Conquer Club members of you eating a corn dog, no matter what happens.
Sure. I'll do it. I'll make sure it
Mission.
happens.
That's your homework. Thanks for joining us, sir. And we'll follow up with you later. Y'all check out the No Huddle show with them this week too.
All righty. Bye, y'all.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in here with me. I guess I could switch this over properly and not have this be awkward. There we go. Normally I have that a little bit more succinct and move it around. All right. So this is the part of the show where we just talk to you, what you want to talk about. I'll hit some of the comments that you had during the show. If there's any questions or things that you'd like for me to address for the next, we can do for 15 minutes, but everybody's kind of good. We can kind of wrap up. I know everybody's still chilling and getting back into the groove of things. And apparently this is a holiday weekend. I didn't know. I don't have kids in school or anything like that. So I don't know all of the special holidays and things of that nature outside of Christmas and Thanksgiving, but I know it's been pretty slow on social media. I'm excited to get things going this week for E2C Network, but everything too. So while you're thinking about it, post some comments and questions here. We'll address them. Let me give you the rundown of what to expect here. The main thing that I have for you this week to keep in mind that you do not want to miss. Check out the new graphic, folks. We let our Conquer Club members put some perspective into this as well. Auburn Family Night every Wednesday night at 8 Eastern time. Do not miss it. We have a great time. We just kind of shoot the breeze like we're doing now. Talk about whatever you want to discuss. And you get to call in if you'd like to, or you can just listen to the calls. It's really up to you. But we'd love for you to call in too. So next Wednesday, it's actually the 11th. I think that's the wrong date. Oh, Kyle, don't you love it when I make mistakes like that? It is the wrong date. The 11th is when it'll be. Womp womp. But you get the idea of what it will look like. Can't ever have nothing. Anyway, also check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support us here at E2C Network. We are mainly fan funded right now. And for us to keep doing the things that we do need your assistance. If you're able to do so, if you can consider joining up on the Conquer Club, you can do that two ways, join on Patreon or here on YouTube by hitting that join button. $1 a month is all it takes. Join up, you get some perks, can access our Discord and be a part of the best little family within the Auburn family, even further than you already are. Of course, you can help by smashing the like button and sharing out everything as well. So what is on y'all's minds? There's nothing big that y'all want to talk about. I can kind of just offer some parting thoughts and we can wrap the show up, but would love to hear anything that you've got to say. Corey says, we got to make the Bayou our backyard again, seeing that we won't play LSU next year. I agree. It would be nice to create a streak of wins at Auburn in LSU just before the regular annual series ends, because it does end next year. Now, whether or not it returns on an annual basis is dependent upon what schedules look like after 2024. Doubt that will happen. But the Tiger Bowl, as you know it, is gone after this year on an annual basis. I think it'll make it even more interesting and make the fervor for that series even better if it's maybe every 2 or 3 years as opposed to every 2 years. My hunch is they're trying to work out a schedule where you don't see you avoid missing a team, whether it's at their place or your place, every 2 to 3 years. Like a lot more consistency seeing these teams. Now, it still may take you 6 years to get back to your place with them or their place, but think about the schedule right now. Like Florida, who I think is a travesty that we do not play on an annual basis, but at least on somewhat of a regular basis. We, in 2019, yes, I think that's the right date. It was the first time we had been there in 12 years, essentially. I think that math is correct. But on that schedule, you would see them every 6 years, but it would either be at your place or their place. That's wrong. Get it back to where it needs to be on a more regular basis, and I will sacrifice LSU if it means that. Corey also says, can I get a good chuckle from everyone that Bama created another horrible quarterback? Talking about Mac Jones. Poor Patriots. I saw that was pretty bad today. In fact, it was affecting my team because they were not able to get anything going for the running back that I have there. You know, I've said this a lot, that everyone kind of underestimates how good Alabama's, especially, all of its line players, but special areas of the team, but their offensive line has been over the years. If you need an example of that, I'll give you a bunch. Quarterbacks that did not work out at the next level, but were just outstanding in college simply because of the pieces they had around them. Now, I'm not taking anything away from them. Some of them have been great, quarterbacks, much better than any of us could ever hope to be. But without what they had protecting them, supporting them, providing opportunities for them, I don't know that you'd see the same success, aka Mac Jones. So Mac Jones is one, John Parker Wilson, Brody Croyle, AJ McCarron. Now he's had, I think, some outside the NFL, some success. I think he won the XFL or something like that. I'm forgetting a bunch of others as well that there have been. Blake Sims is another. How do I know so many Alabama quarterbacks? That's not a good sign for me, is it? Somebody send help. I know too much about the Alabama Crimson Tide. So obviously, they do not have a good track record outside of Alabama, but there's a reason why they have so much. Got to give them credit where credit is due. So there's that as well. Maybe some final thoughts here. If you've got any, drop them in now on the show this evening. Personally, on a personal note, you guys have known, and I've been hinting at this a lot, that my schedule has just been a wreck over the last month, and it's a good reason why. But we are back in studio for the foreseeable future. Like, there's no Auburn game this week at campus, so we'll be here. So this will be the time we start getting some more regular content back out to you. So continued thanks for patience, and those of you that appreciate that. We just broke 5,000 followers on Facebook, and we're going to be doing some newer things because of that over there. So if you're a Facebook viewer, maybe some extra special things coming for you over there as well. So those are some of my final thoughts. Of course, smash the like button if you enjoyed this content tonight. And what just happened? Who did that? That must have been on Twitch. I think we're broadcasting to Twitch. That was the weirdest thing that I've ever. So the balloons popped up last time, and this time I literally said this. Smash the like button. Does it make that happen? No, somebody's messing with me. Smash the like button. Okay, somebody's messing with me. Let's see if that happens again. Anyway, I don't know how that's happening. The balloons popped up one time on the stream, and it really just threw me off. I didn't know that would actually happen on the stream here, but it's a really cool feature, I guess. So thank y'all so much for being here, for entertaining me and letting me entertain you and AJ. And we'll hopefully have Austin back in the saddle next Sunday even, 9 Eastern time. Don't miss it. Would love to see some of your smiling faces here, especially those of you watching on the replay. Don't miss it. It's always better live. Until we talk to you again, or next Wednesday night, 8 Eastern time. War Eagle.